Greetings and welcome. Welcome to Saw Month, guys. I'm Chad. I am here with Santino
What's up, guys?
and Dylan.
Hey, how's it going?
So, we are talking Saw 3 and 4 this week. So, let's just jump right into it. So, Saw 3, this was the first one I got to see in theaters. Like I said, I missed Saw 1, didn't get a chance to watch it for a while. Saw 2 had already come out by the time I watched them both. So watching Saw 3 in theaters, like I'll always have great memories of watching it. Just like with my big group of friends I went with. But so this one in a way felt like this almost was like leading up to like a logical conclusion. The first time we see Jigsaw, he's basically on his deathbed. Well, he is on his deathbed.
Yeah, that was so fun to watch. Like, this guy who was like mastermind is like now on his like last legs.
He's like, this is the end of him. He's laying there. He's got a mask on. He's having seizures. He's having surgery to keep him alive for like an additional like couple hours. But before we dive into it, let's go with first impressions. Santino.
Okay, yeah. So the very first trap that I saw was like I wanted to puke. My God, the angel trap, or I'm not sure what it's called. Like whatever that is, where that ripped out the detective's guts.
That was the second trap.
Okay, the second trap.
I was gonna say the first one was
Yeah, the guy with the chain on his lip, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. The second one, like, oh man, dude, I was like, wow, we're in like
Poor Detective Carey.
no, we're like in a whole new ball game because like this entire movie was like really really gory. It was like even yeah, I don't know, man. I just felt like even though it was really gory, I honestly really liked it. It was a hospital drama, and honestly, all the bad people got what they deserved. Yeah, exactly. Like
Santino, are you leading up to be one of Jigsaw's apprentices?
no, it's not that. I mean, like
We'll find out by Spiral.
no, like
Spiral's gonna go on full Jigsaw rant.
no, but like honestly, like I was looking at it and I was like, okay, so Jeff was this. He had to go through like this gauntlet of tests, right? So like the first one was this girl who just ignored the accident, now being frozen. I was like, yeah, you know what? Let her freeze. And the next one was this corrupt judge who was like being
let her freeze.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't really, yeah, what an asshole. So like,
by Saw standards, I would say she's definitely not one of the more guilty people. I mean, she's guilty by an action, not by what she did. It's by what she didn't do.
Right.
And then there was this corrupt judge like being drowned in like rotting pig guts. Like, yeah, you know what? Let it happen.
And I did love the guy's response. What, like, after Jeff saves him, and he's like, just remember, Jeff, vengeance will not bring your son back or bring you peace. I'm like, you still let him out of prison, dude. Like, that's not a justification for what you did. Doesn't equate to what you just said to Jeff.
But like when you find out what happened, like the guy who killed the son, you find out it was by accident. He's actually like, a decent person.
Yeah,
I was expecting like the whole movie. I was expecting it to be like a drunk driver or a drug addict asshole who fled the scene, and then they show it, and I'm like, Jeff, you're a fucking asshole monster.
Yeah. He's a young guy. He's like a medical student or something.
He was like a teenager or like you said, a college student. They showed him crying over making a mistake.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. The only time I found it sympathetic was when we actually saw the guy. I was like, oh, okay. Like I actually enjoyed that little twist. Like, oh, he was not actually an asshole. It was by accident. So yeah, when he was being like twisted and like begging for his life, like okay, yeah, I felt bad and I felt like I wanted to puke after that. I was like, oh man. Okay, not him. But those two other people I didn't really care for. It's like I wanted, like, yeah, I don't mind if they die.
I will say though, I guess my initial impressions, unlike you two, I'm not a huge fan of this one, or at least I don't think it's among the better sequels.
Okay.
It's probably in my bottom half. Um, and I guess I should explain to the audience that, like, besides the first movie, like, I think all of them are pretty much the same in quality. So when I say this is one of the weaker ones, I'm not saying like it's that much worse than, like, part 2 or whatever. I will say though that this does have like among the best traps in the franchise. That rack trap that the med student was thrown in, yeah, that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
She just
being his
and you
fucking
just felt
bones.
and see that's the part right there where Jigsaw made the claim, like, I've never killed anyone and I don't condone murder. It's like, yeah, but you stuck this kid who could have gotten his life together, and Jeff was like a vengeful parent. But it's like this no offense, what did that kid really do wrong? He made a mistake. He made a mistake and showed he was remorseful for it.
And he went to jail for it,
Exactly. He got out earlier than Jeff wanted him to, but it's like, by the law, he did the time that the law gave him. What was he supposed to say? No, leave me in prison longer? And then you stick him in a machine and you leave it up to the man who hates him to free him. Sorry, you condemned Timothy Young to death.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should take Jigsaw's so-called morals with a grain of salt at this point. I mean, the guy, he's in his deathbed, like you said. He has a big ass like tumor in his brain. He's clearly not thinking straight. So
this is the same guy who also drove his car off a cliff, somehow survived, and was like, I'm gonna go on a crusade to teach the world how to appreciate life by sticking them in situations where if they don't torture themselves, they're gonna die.
That's one of my favorite things in the Saw franchise. It's finding out John Kramer's like life is just how shitty was his life. Like every movie, they just add a new element. Like, turns out he divorced his wife. Turns out they had a baby who got killed in a miscarriage. Also turns out that his neighbor in Jigsaw, we find out his neighbor, this woman, also killed her baby like right next to him. His nephew died in a motorcycle accident. It's really funny. It's getting ridiculously miserable. It's just hilarious every time they bring up a new like shitty thing that happened in Jigsaw.
Yeah, it's like it gets to the point where it's kind of ridiculous about how this guy's like life is so bad. It's like, okay,
yeah.
But honestly, my favorite trap, honestly, was that bullet collar they put around the nurse's neck.
That was your favorite?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That poor woman.
Because that nurse was a piece of shit. She cheated on her husband.
Wow.
Yeah, that nurse was an asshole. Like she cheated on her husband. And with her dude.
They had their relationship was faltering already. They were almost divorced at that point.
but
But I'd say if there's any character who learned a lesson, I would give it that out of almost the entire franchise, she's one of the few who I felt did learn her lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was rooting for her more than Jeff for sure.
Oh, Jeff didn't learn jack shit.
Yeah, that's another one of my main complaints of the movie is that Jeff is just the most unlikable boy. Like you feel bad for him at first, but then he does like everything wrong in the game.
I think that was the intent though, because if you think about it, in the first one, you kind of felt bad for Gordon. In the second one, you kind of felt bad for Daniel. So they were like, hey, let's make the person in the trap. Let's flip it. Let's make everyone hate that person because we liked Lynn far more than Jeff.
I guess. I don't know. But besides that, he's just not nearly as interesting as, Gordon or Donnie Wahlberg.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff and his Jeff and his gauntlet of traps were not that interesting. I'll give it that. Like, yeah, even though I'm gonna sound like a sick fuck for saying this. Even though I like seeing the people get tortured to death, except for the guy at the last one, I did not like Jeff as a character.
Yeah, I think the
scene that like ruined Jeff for me, honestly, was his very first scene. When he went into his daughter's room and ripped the toy out of her hands, I was like, fuck this guy. I was like, this guy is just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
uh,
Like, no, I
I
get
don't
where
know.
you're coming from. Like, I get it. You're mad at the corrupt assholes who, like, took your son away and all that. Yeah, I get it. All right, fine. But the thing is, you're kind of an asshole yourself, right? So, it's hard to root for you also.
Not an interesting asshole too, like Donnie Wahlberg was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're kind of an asshole yourself. So I'm not like, how am I supposed to root for you? Like, it would be honestly more interesting if like Jeff was actually like, this really good father and he had a nice relationship with his wife and kids, and he like really went through this downward spiral of like
He might have been, though. I mean,
I
we
think,
don't know what Jeff was like before his son got
yeah,
killed.
I think that's implied, but it just never really commits to it, which is another one of my problems with the movie, um, particularly with Jigsaw and Amanda. Potentially interesting relationship there, but I feel like they didn't explore it enough. We just get some scenes of her, like self-mutilating or whatever, and then Jigsaw spouts this bullshit philosophy about appreciating life or anything. I can't tell
Well,
if it's a father-daughter thing or if they're lovers or what.
but you got to
It's
remember, the biggest thing with that was when it was revealed in the twist that it was part of her test. Um, because he knew he was dying, and he's like, I need to figure out who's going to take over doing this, and I need to see if Amanda's ready. And she proved by killing, Detective Carey, by what she did to Troy, that she was not there to continue his legacy because she just killed all her victims. She didn't give them the chance to live because Troy should have lived, but like that, the hook in his mouth and the door being welded shut, she put him in there to die. And what happened to Carrie with burning her hand off, unlocking it, and then it still being stuck on her? Again, Amanda killed her. So it's like I think it was a father-daughter relationship. Like that's what it felt like. Like I kind of saw that at the end after Jeff shot Amanda and she was dying and they were both reaching out for each other. I never got the lovers thing because, as revealed
yeah,
in this one, he
yeah, it's not
never,
love thing for sure. It's more of
like, in this one, like, you could tell, like, we obviously didn't know who Jill Tuck was at this point, but we could tell she was someone who meant something to him. And in his last moments of existence, he was regretting and realizing who he'd lost.
mm-hmm. I guess. I don't know. I felt like it could have just. I don't know. I feel like they could have dived in. I think most of it's implied, where I think they should have committed more to it. Because it's an interesting arc for Amanda to see her going from this drug addict to full on Jigsaw apprentice. That would have been a more interesting arc on its own. And I think another problem I have with the movie is that most of the Saw movies are kind of evenly divided between the main game and the detective storyline, and I don't think there's any detective storyline in this movie.
Well, they abandoned the detective stuff.
Yeah, it's basically
in the beginning.
It was a gauntlet of traps, basically, but just like for that one dude.
Yeah.
I think this one needed to abandon the cop stuff, though. Like, I like that they put it at the beginning to show that, even these cops aren't safe anymore. But then I think I'm glad it didn't focus on them because it would have just taken away from the Lynn, Jigsaw, and Amanda element of the film.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I think the cop story is important because that's like your real like race against time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
will they break into the warehouse and save the victims in time? And I think as a result, the movie this kind of marks a turn for the franchise where it becomes more like torture porn. I guess at this point. I mean, I don't think this movie is just torture porn, but it's clearly more. It relishes a lot more in the
Yeah,
gore.
it's a lot more violent than the other two.
Gratuitous close of of Timothy's like bones popping out of his arms and legs, which is cool. I mean, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, but it really lacks the restraint of the first two, and also the brain surgery scene, which goes on for forever. It's like they really wanted to show off the gore effects with this one. But yeah, I don't know. It definitely feels slower paced than the previous movies, and also a bit more mean spirited because I don't think there's. anyone here, even Jeff, I don't think anyone here like truly deserved what they got. You know, it has a more mean-spirited tone, I think, than most of the other movies.
That's definitely how I felt when we saw what happened to Lynn at the end of the movie. I was like, this poor woman, she did not deserve to have her. I mean, I see that's where, like we were talking about Jigsaw earlier, that's where his philosophy gets thrown out the window. She did everything that she was told to do. Yeah, and she still got her head blown off because of her husband.
And nothing happens to Jeff. I mean, well, until the fourth
movie. Not yet.
Part three, like he's just there.
And he's got to go find. And that's where, and this isn't the fault of this movie. I'll get this to the next one, but it's like, now it's like Jeff is set up to find his daughter. And I'm like, I'm like, inside my head, the first time I watched it, I'm like, I don't want this asshole to find his daughter, though. He treated his daughter like shit. Yeah. Like screamed at her for being, and then like obviously when you learn about who everyone is, it's like, okay, obviously Lynn does not live with Jeff and the daughter anymore, which is kind of jacked up that like the poor daughter is left with Jeff of all people. Like, wow, the poor thing.
Yeah, and he's so slow. He was like so slow and like, you know, removing all the traps. I was like, dude, you gotta move faster. I can move faster than that. Not that I'm telling you that, not that I'm asking to be like part of a Saw gone. I'm not asking to be that guy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you might want to not want to broadcast that too loudly. You don't know if there's a Jigsaw out there, Santino.
Yeah, I know.
He's coming for you. But I think what I also liked about it is up until Jigsaw played the last tape, telling Jeff, you know, like I want to play a game or whatever. It kind of felt like as soon as Jigsaw was killed, I'm like, okay, that's it. The trilogy's over. And then once they did that, I'll never forget one of the friends I went with, he was like, I said something like, damn, I wonder what they're going to do in Saw 4. He's like, Saw 4, it's over. I'm like, were you paying attention? I'm like, Jigsaw openly told Jeff if he wants to find his daughter, he's got to play a game. He's like, they're not going to continue with that. I'm like, yeah, they are. I'm like, these movies don't cost that much to make. They're making more, dude. Yeah. I'm like, our theater was jam-packed. They're not going to stop this yet.
Yeah, it could have been a solid conclusion, I think. And one of the more interesting ideas, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but the original plan was to bring back Dr. Gordon and his wife and their daughter. They would have been like the main game family. You guys hear about that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like, okay, I'm not sure if Dr. Gordon would have been Jeff or if he would have been the doctor character. But yeah, I think that would have been a better way to bring back Dr. Gordon instead of just, ham-fisting him into the seventh movie.
We'll get into that when we get to that one, but I won't blame 7 for being what it was.
Oh yeah, it's a studio thing.
That was a studio thing. I can't get mad at the movie for being what it was because they didn't, with wanting to keep with the tradition of a movie every year and then taking 2 movies and cramming them into one. I can't get too upset with the director on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But with this one, I mean, I still really like it. I think Jeff is an enjoyable asshole. Like, you kind of want to watch him suffer because he's such a prick. And I mean, he solidifies it. Yes, Jeff is the one who, is the one who killed Jigsaw. But it's almost like, dude, you didn't deserve that because you're just a piece of shit. Like, you did not deserve to be the one to kill him at the end of the day, I don't think.
Oh, not true.
But, I mean, overall, I think I like it better than you do, Dylan. I mean, I understand your criticisms. They're definitely valid. I think this is one of those movies that it comes down to
personal preference.
Yeah, personal preference and your own viewpoints on how you view the characters and how you view the franchise.
Yeah, I guess. Like I said, like, this is not one of my favorite Saw movies. In fact, it's probably my bottom half. But they're not that far apart. They're pretty interchangeable in my opinion. So yeah, I still enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Any closing thoughts? Oh, I forgot one scene. I forgot to bring up one scene. I did think it was really cool watching the flashback scene to setting up of the bathroom trap from Saw 1.
Oh yeah, and we finally get some closure as to what happened to Adam, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because we don't know if he survived until now.
Well, we knew he was dead because we saw his corpse in Saw 2, don't forget.
Right.
Yeah.
But now we got the answer of like that. Amanda's a killer. She's not actually learning from anything Jigsaw's trying to teach her.
Mm-hmm. Closing thoughts. I think the movie's more interesting on paper than on execution. There's a lot of solid ideas like character-wise and psychologically, but they're more thrown out in favor of gore. So
yeah,
that
which sucks. But hey, that's what happens.
That's what happens when you have to pump a movie out once a year. Sometimes you don't have time to sit and perfect everything. But I will give it to them. I'd say they were definitely on a decent roll.
Definitely.
And now we're going to move on to Saw 4, which...
The best trap I've ever seen in the first four is here.
Okay, you know what? Go ahead. What's up?
It's the one where used on Donnie Wahlberg, the 2 ice blocks smashing his head. I was like, oh my god, that was awesome. Okay, I'll give it that. That was an amazing kill. I'm sorry. I know like that's like a weird thing for me to pick. Like I know a lot of people pick something else, but like for me, that was the best one so far. When the ice just slammed his head, crushing it like it was a meatball.
And his friend got him killed. All because, again, Rig didn't listen to the rules.
Right. Well, okay, his rules are pretty ambiguous, you know. I mean,
he was told you can't save everyone. And he was also taught you can't. But he was, if you look at it in retrospect, Jigsaw was showing him it's not your job to save everyone. Sometimes they need to do it themselves, like with the husband-wife duo.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was an awesome, like, you know, like that was so smart. Like it must have taken time for like Jigsaw to place all that spikes like in the non-violent areas of the girl and in the violent areas of the guy. I was like, I don't know how
Jigsaw and his medical knowledge. Come on. Somebody taught him how to do that.
In a fucking school, too.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Yeah. These are getting pretty ridiculous at this point. I mean, in the other movies, it's usually like a warehouse that he rented out. This time around, like he'd be putting them in schools and motels in the main character's house. Like how much time and research does this guy have?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
But Saw 4, I definitely say this is one I usually see a lot of people hate. Or say at least this is one where they're like, you know, this is where the franchise started to taper off, or they're not really fans of 4. Personally, I really enjoy 4. So I'll did either of you see the twist coming?
Which one?
The twist that, you're right, there's 2 of them. Well, the second one really wasn't. The second one was more of a reveal than a twist, I'd say. But taking place at the exact same time as 3, I think almost like what you said about 3, Dylan, with missing the cop drama. Yeah, this one did the exact opposite. This made the cop drama intermingled with the traps, and then when you look at it as Saw 3 and 4 taking place at the same time, I'm one of those people. I genuinely think these 2 movies complement each other.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they should have been maybe they should have been in the same movie. That's why I think Saw probably would work better as a TV show than a series of movies.
That would be cool. That would actually be I think that would be a smart thing to do at this point. And like, what would you throw it on? Like HBO or something?
I mean, obviously HBO is the golden standard, but I mean, I don't know if they'll
Well,
be
you got to
going
throw
to.
it somewhere where you're going to be allowed to show the gore. So nothing on, cable TV. It would have to be something
Yeah,
like
obviously.
streaming.
HBO's the safest bet, but I don't know. Do you think Saw's too lowbrow for HBO?
Uh, I don't think Netflix could pull it off.
It's
Maybe.
weird
Wait,
because
where's
Netflix
Hannibal?
has Saw right now in my country.
I don't know. Maybe AXN. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Where did Hannibal show? That's NBC, wasn't it? Anyways,
But yeah, anyways.
yeah. I'm sorry. That's unnecessary. Saw 4, I think is, yeah. I'm gonna have to agree with the majority and think that this is sort of where the franchise starts to not necessarily go bad, but it starts to like overstay its welcome a little bit, and this early on into the series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I can't say it's a bad movie, but I do think it's one of the least memorable of the franchise.
Okay.
I struggle to really think of like a franchise highlight besides the Donnie Wahlberg's head getting popped like a watermelon.
Yeah, that was awesome to watch. I'm telling you, that was the best trap I've ever seen in these four.
Yeah. Rig. He's an okay Riggs or whatever his name is. He's an okay protagonist. I don't know. Nothing about the movie really stands out to me.
Okay. Fair enough. Santino, what's your thoughts on this one?
It's just very. It's honestly out of all the four. Okay, I'll honestly say this. Out of the four I've watched, this is my least favorite one of the four.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
honestly, yeah, I don't like it that much.
Okay, fair enough. See, and I'm the opposite. I genuinely really like this one. I liked how it kind of flipped it on its side of I liked how it was in all the traps that Rig was going through. I liked how it kind of flipped it where it's like we're watching the process of how Jigsaw chooses his victims. We're watching Rig have to make the moral choice with someone like Ivan. He had to make that decision. Do I just walk away from this or do I look at this monster of a human being and put him into the trap? And it's like I get half of why he did it. He didn't know what would happen if he didn't. But at the same time, he also didn't do anything to stop it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
so I liked how it was seeing things from Jigsaw's point of view. And again, when you see that opening shot, which Dylan, you were talking about off air of just Jigsaw's autopsy, which, by the way, it just over the top gratuitous gore just for the sake of it. But I will say I loved the opening music of it. It's like the darkest, most evil music of like any of the intros, I think.
Right.
But it was also there, like that was there to solidify to the audience, we're not going to go, he's dead. He got his throat slashed by Jeff. Here is his autopsy. He's dead. He's gone. His brain has been taken out. It's over. Yep. So there's no mystery of like, oh, is he still alive? And then, you hit with Hoffman, you think it's over. Things have just begun. And then the twist of it taking place at the same time, I thought that was really cool because then when, like I said, I didn't view it as a twist when we saw that Hoffman was the second accomplice. I just saw that as a reveal. If that, like, I don't know. Do you see the difference between twist and reveal?
I do, but I actually don't remember. Were we supposed to think that the lawyer dude was the real Jigsaw apprentice? I forget.
I think we were up until he took his jacket off and he had that thing on his back.
Oh, okay. I kind of forgot how early on that.
What was that? What was that anyway? Was that like a trap?
Yeah, it was.
It severs the spinal cord, I think.
It was something that was there that obviously after he survived his first trap somehow got put on him to force him to play out the rest of the game with Hoffman and Detective Matthews.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess, but it wasn't really his story. So same as, tons of other, side characters who we saw in the first couple movies and their traps get killed. We didn't need to see everybody's backstory.
Yeah. I like how this movie points out just how petty Jigsaw is because he's all about like people not appreciating life, have to learn how to. Like, what did Riggs do? He was just saving. He's obsessed with saving people. I mean, Jigsaw has to go on like his again with his bullshit philosophical ramblings about how I don't know saving people or being obsessed with saving people is a bad thing. Like bullshit, dude. You're just trying to cap off all the cops who are investigating you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
But then,
We've established, Jigsaw is a massive hypocrite. He's
yeah,
proven himself to be a hypocrite multiple times. I don't know. With Rig, I kind of felt like I agree. Rig felt like he wasn't set up to be the apprentice. It was more of just that was there because of Strom and Perez. Like more of the massive forward thinking that somehow Jigsaw is always one step ahead of everyone.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, even though sometimes it really is just plot convenience.
Oh, the unfortunate part of the plot convenience is that's just bad writing. Because lots of it is. I mean, how did Hoffman know Strom and Perez were on the case when Carey was the liaison to the FBI, not Hoffman?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he peeked at her notes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I think I liked the most about this one is I think this one felt of at least the detective, I'll call it the Detective Matthews trilogy, 2, 3, and 4. This one definitely, I think, to me felt the most dark and almost. It's hard for me to explain why it feels the most brutal, but it's like this one just had like the darkest atmosphere feel about it, if that makes sense. Like it almost felt like things were like all rapidly like coming to an end until the big reveal of, oh my God, this is all taking place at the same time, which at the end of the day, I think this one was made the way it was because they did not know where to go after killing Jigsaw. I think by killing him, they did it to kind of put an end to things, but set up potential more sequels, but they didn't know where to go. So they're like, okay, let's make a sidequel film so we can set up what's coming after Jigsaw's actually dead.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know. I think 3 feels like the most brutal of the series.
No, I didn't. No, when I say dark, I don't mean brutal. I mean like there's just something. It's hard to describe why I feel this movie just feels like dark and just like almost like I don't know. It's hard for me to describe. It's probably just me.
Okay. Man, I'm just going to the Wikipedia page right now because honestly, this one stands out the lead. Like, does not stand out.
Yeah, honestly, I watched it like only 8 hours ago, and it's hard to remember.
I really am in the minority on this one.
Maybe, unfortunately.
I
get
don't
it,
much to say about
Oh
it.
no, I've been on my own on this one for a long time. Trust me. I don't know many people who say that they enjoy this one as much as I do.
I did appreciate the like transition effects, which were those transitions throughout the movie, like where like the prostitute lady's thrown through like a mirror and then like the camera goes through and it's
like somebody walking down a hall.
Apparently that was done practically. That's not a visual effect. They actually built those two sets side by side and the camera actually went through the mirror. They threw the stunt actress through a glass. The camera actually goes through a mirror and into the office. I thought it was a visual effect this whole time, but it's not.
No kidding.
Yeah. You should, if you look at the behind the scenes, it's pretty interesting how they did it.
Wow. So let's see. So yeah, I think another thing I like about this movie is it feels like it, like we said about 3, it almost felt like 3 could have been the finale of everything. But with this one, if you think about it, aside from Hoffman and Strom, Strom was introduced in this one and was ironically probably the most competent character we've gotten in all of them. This was kind of the one that just killed everybody off. You know what I mean? Like everyone was gone at the end of this movie, and we were left with Hoffman, the new secret apprentice, and all new characters going forward. So I think that's another thing I kind of like about it is it just kind of like washed the slate. It got rid of everybody. It just killed them all off.
Yeah, it really felt like an end of a trilogy, which is fine. You know, like we get to see new stuff. I can't wait to see what happens after.
No, I'll bet. Yeah, just wait.
Yeah. I don't know. I do like the finale, even if Hoffman's reveal not very satisfying. Not in the way that Amanda was.
No. I think it was kind of I think the reveal was kind of a more, okay, now everything makes sense. Why Jigsaw has never been caught, why he always gets away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like he wasn't enough of his own character to truly warrant like a oh my god moment when he.
I kind of think that was the point at this point because it did kind of come out of nowhere. Because if you think about it, Hoffman was, I think, in one scene in Saw 3, and then he was in and then before he was in his trap, he was in maybe 1 or 2 scenes in this one. So we're just kind of like, okay, he's just another cop who's going to get killed off. And then when it's revealed, I think the reveal was more meant to be like, I think the reveal of him being the apprentice was more of a setup for what was coming next, as opposed to us looking at it and being like, oh, I could have seen that coming, or, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Because it definitely feels like, Santino, you not having seen it, Dylan, you have. We're definitely explore far more with Hoffman in the next movie. I mean, Hoffman essentially becomes the main character, going forward.
The main villain until like the 7th movie.
He's the main villain in the next 3 movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think Saw 4 is really cool. I liked Rigg as a character. I kind of liked the little journey he went on, and like any horror film, he still got killed. He didn't listen. He got killed, and he got Matthews killed. Still makes me wonder, though, what would have happened if he hadn't gone through that door? What would Hoffman have done then?
Yeah, I don't know.
Rigg or Strahm would have broke in, and all 3 of them, Matthews, Hoffman, Rigg, would have been like, and Art Blank all still would have been alive.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's fair to assume that Jigsaw's like an omniscient god who can just predict the outcome of things well after his death. Because
most of it really is, well, what if somebody did obey the rules and listened? Then what?
Yeah. We're like, oh, Saw, what if? What if someone actually listened?
What if instead of, you know what? The what if could go all the way back to the first movie. What if Gordon had gotten pissed off with that gun and just fired it into Jigsaw's head out of just like anger?
Yeah. Or what if he just broke it on foot instead of, cutting it off?
Or if he did exactly what Detective Matthews did. Used the top of the toilet lid, broke his ankle, and slid it out.
That's something I've always wondered about the first okay, so the key was apparently not supposed to go down the drain. So what if Adam found the key and unlocked him?
I always wondered. So what was the point of that?
Were there more traps outside, maybe? Or I don't know.
See, I did always wonder that. Like, even when watching it, and I don't know why we didn't bring it up, but I always have wondered, well, what was the point of it then? Like, why was Amanda not supposed to put it there, or she put it there? Or did Amanda put it there out of pity, hoping Adam would get it?
Maybe, I don't know.
But going back to Saw 1, what's his face? James Wan obviously never planned on Amanda being an accomplice.
Yeah. But even in the context of the movie, it just makes sense. So if you found the key and then he'd just be walking around the room, clearly it was designed, for Gordon and Adam to not trust each other because they have like their little secret private notes, like you have to poison Adam with his blood. But now that Adam's walking around free, he just see that, what's this? You got to poison me?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I'd love to ask James Wan about that because, or hey, anyone down below, if you seem to understand why the key was originally there in the first Saw, let us know. Because now that you bring it up, I don't get it. But yeah, to finish up Saw 4, like I said, I genuinely enjoy it far more than you two do, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, hey, we could next week Santino could say he, absolutely loves Saw 5, and you'll be in the minority, but I'd love to hear reasons why that one could stick with you. I always love whenever there's a movie that the minority doesn't seem to like, or whenever the majority doesn't seem to like it, and somebody's got reasons to back up why they do like it. It always seems to add a bit of enjoyment to something for me, if that makes sense. But we'll see. So, closing thoughts on Saw 4.
It was just okay. Nothing really special, but it's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's not much worse than like the rest of the sequels, but I don't know. Nothing really stands out.
Oh wait, I keep forgetting. What about all of Jigsaw's backstory though?
That was cool. Okay, yeah. I'll make one comment. Like, I've seen a lot of violence here, but I did not cringe as hard as I did when the door hit the lady's stomach. I was like, oh man, that's brutal.
Or what about Cecil's trap?
Who was that again?
The guy who killed the baby.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. That guy got what he deserved.
That was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting. This whole Jigsaw. Apparently, the movie The Collector was written as a Jigsaw sequel. You hear about that?
I had a feeling it was, because it definitely felt like it took inspiration, but I didn't know if that was true or not.
Yeah, I think it's been confirmed that it was originally written as a Jigsaw prequel that just got turned into its own thing.
Hey, for better or for worse, because The Collector and The Collection were actually pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so throw that in there. I like Jigsaw's backstory. And I think this was also made to show that. Definitely more of, like we said, Jigsaw's backstory. Kind of the same as they did with Santino, if you remember. Freddy Krueger's backstory. Each movie shows more and more of who this person was.
Right.
But with Freddy, we still never pitied him, and I never felt bad for him. And with Jigsaw, I'm still on the edge if I actually feel bad for his life. But it's like, if you think about it, it's almost like I can understand depression hitting you when you're a certain personality type and you're excited to have a baby with your wife, and then the child gets killed by somebody your wife has kind of dedicated her life to helping. That definitely was when he snapped. I mean, to me, he was Jigsaw when Jill and Art went to visit him, and he basically told them both, "Get the fuck out of here. I'm done." At that point, to me, he was like already Jigsaw before he went off the cliff. Like, I think he was already a broken human being long before that.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Saw 4. One of my favorites. Not the same for you guys, but not a big deal. Like we said, different tastes. So next week we will be back with Saw 5 and Saw 6. We're plugging through the series. I'm genuinely excited to hear you guys' thoughts on 5. Because 5 is such a mixed bag. I've heard some people say they love it, and I've heard others say it's the worst and one of the biggest weak points.
Yeah, I'm sorry I sounded like such a negative Nancy this episode, but I think I'll be more positive in the next one for sure. Because I do enjoy 5 and 6.
5 has more to it that I think is good than most people give credit for, but it's still not one of my favorites. But who knows? After we talk about it next week, things could change. Never know. So, guys, that concludes another episode. Let us know your thoughts on the 2 movies that we just discussed down below. I'm Chad. I'm out.
Santino signing off.
Dylan, goodbye.